So getting out some super glue, just some cheap super glue I've got here. I'm just going to put it on this lid, right? And as always good to use a cocktail stick. There are tools out there. I think RP tools do something like this, which I'll just get out for you. It's basically a blade handle, and on the end, I don't know how well we're going to be able to close in on there, but it's got like these little sort of like little forks on the end, and that basically sort of catches the super glue and it keeps it a nice sort of blob on the end. I'll just use it for this one, but you know what, cocktail sticks work just fine. And what we're going to do, let's bring you in a little bit closer, is we're just going to glue one little bit just here with the super glue, right? Just one nice little bit like so. Then we're going to take our piece and very carefully we're going to lay that down. Ooh. We've only got a limited amount of time to get into place before the glue goes off, right? And we want to lay that in there like so, and then we let that go off a little bit. So with that now gone off a nice little bit, we don't have to glue all the way around. You know what, we just come all the way to the end, and we get another bit of super glue. Again, I'm just using a cocktail stick now, you know, it does not matter, right? And then we basically just wrap this around until we get to the opposite side where we've got some super glue. Maybe just pinch it down, probably best not with your fingers because you're going to get super glue on it. Right, a little pointy blade like this, I mean it might take a bit of super glue and sort of glue a little bit, but it's just a pointy end, so we should be fine in pulling it away. And wait till that goes off. Just make sure that's down. Right, and hopefully, as you can see there, we've got this lovely bit of photo etch that goes all the way around. Now this, because we have only glued this at 2 points, it should be fine glued there. But if you want to sort of play it a little bit safe, you know what, that little mixture I just showed you with, you know, PVA glue, water, a bit of flow improver, we could paint that all the way around it, or just get glue all the way around it, and it just you know, saves you gluing super glue all around, just makes it more tricky. Yeah, just those 2 points and you should be all good, and that can then glue onto the model. So we're going to look at the towing cable now. We get this really cool towing bit of wire here, which is, you know, better than, you know, a lot of them we see kind of like string or cotton or something. Not quite as realistic, but this wire stuff is pretty sort of nice. Now we need to cut it to length. Now what I'd suggest, we do have quite a bit of excess with this. So as you can see, you know, both ends do look a little bit frayed. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to sort of twist it as much as I can to sort of, you know, get rid of that frayedness as much as possible. But you know what, I'm not going to sort of mess about. You know, we have got excess, so I am going to just cut the end off nice and neat, so we've got a nice neat end. Then these rulers are really cool, nice metal ruler, and what we can basically do, if we sort of maybe sort of run it along with your nail like so, we can sort of get out any sort of kinks. Right, make sure it is nicely wound and you are winding it the right way. Just want to make sure that seems a little bit not wound so nicely. Right, and what we're going to do is we're going to hold it at the beginning of the ruler. Right, and we want, I do believe it is 123 millimeters, so kind of pull it sort of tight. Right, and then there we go, we want it to be around about there. Sorry if you're not seeing this on camera, but it is at 123, and then I'm going to use my blade right where that measurement was Right, and we're going to cut that in. Sorry, I know you're not on the main camera there, but you know, I couldn't take my finger off here. And then that cuts it nicely at both ends. And then, you know, kind of easy now, really, once you've got that measurement, is get a bit of super glue on the end, and then we glue it just in this little sort of slot that's designed for it nicely there. And then we should have our tone cable all done and ready to glue onto the model, which, just to show you, right, this is one I've done earlier. Nice and easy, Tamiya's thin cement, gluing the one end in and the other end in, as you can see just there. And then really there's these little sort of notches, you can sort of see them like here and here, right, that are designed for it to go through. Little bit of super glue just in there, and then you just push in the little bit of wire into each one of them, and it glues down rather nicely and sort of pretty sort of nice and solid. And don't worry if it's a little bit sort of kinky, you know, you don't want it to be, you know, perfectly straight. Don't get too sort of focused on it being all nice and straight. Those little kinks in it and everything just adds to the character of it being, you know, a towing cable rather than just a straight bar or something. So as you can see, there's a little bit of kinks in there, which makes it look kind of cool. So moving along with the build, we have our side skirts. Now with our side skirts, the problem is we've got our tracks, we want to be weathering them or painting them separately. They're going to have like a whole different sort of look to the rest of the model. We don't want the tracks actually glued onto the model, which basically means that we can't glue on the side skirts, because if we get our side skirts on here, we won't be able to get the track on very easily. So it's best if we keep the side skirts off. But just to sort of show you the little bit of a fit issue I have had, I have already corrected it, but it's quite an easy one just to show you. On these side skirts, these go on here just like that, but for some strange reason the one at the back here was like sticking out like that. So what I've had to do is just cut off these little kind of ledges, which you can just see. This side was fine, but for some reason this side had to cut them off. Also, there's a couple of there's this part just here, just right in the corner, this one just here. I've already glued it on just to speed things up, but basically we got this situation where we want the side skirts off and spray them separately and everything. But then we've got this one piece here which needs to be attached to both the side skirts and the actual main hull as well. So what I've done here is I've glued it to the main hull, but then I've brought the side skirt in, and what I'd like to do is just make sure that once I've glued this little piece in here, that the side skirt sits nicely with it, rather than sort of glue it on and then you sort of come along maybe later on, and as you can see, you know, we've got like a little tiny gap just going on there. Just, you know, make sure it sits nicely, maybe slightly position it if you have to, but then once it's in position, just slowly bring the side skirt away, and that should be all nicely ready to attach the side skirts. So really now we can start looking at the turret itself, which is quite a cool turret. I do like the look of the Leopard 2 turrets. They've got this kind of futuristic kind of shape to them, really interesting. Little sort of thing we have just at the back here, I don't know if it's on every kit, but you might be able to see that there is just here, it's like this piece sort of goes down a bit. I'll just exaggerate it so you know what I mean. It's sort of down like that, and it's just enough. I have been sort of slowly sort of bending it back sort of in position like that, just to sort of get it nice and straight, because what was happening was, as I was testing the turret, we would put the turret on something like that, and you'd sort of get it sort of scraping on the bottom just here, and it was sort of not kind of going right. So it's just okay just to sort of bend them a little bit, but don't worry too much, because I do believe there's loads of boxes and stuff that goes on there, and that sort of might put them in position and everything. Another fit issue we're going to be sort of tackling here is going to be these spaced armor. We've got this problem where as you can probably already see, is we've got these massive gaps going on. We've got a big gap going on down here as well. It's not looking too good, and actually it's kind of just locked in that position. It's just the way it's gone. Don't know what Meng was thinking in this instance, but I did look at some reference photos. Now with the reference photos, I did find that from what I could see, there was definitely not a massive gap here. I couldn't see any gaps along here just there, but strangely they do actually have a gap there. It's actually on the real thing. I'm seeing that little gap there. So what we need to do is sort of modify this and get it to fit. I'm sort of going to play around with this side and then show you the next side how I got them to get rid of that massive gap, which is quite bad. But what we want to do now is we've got our actual main gun just here, and what I want to do is want to get rid of all this seam lines, get some sanding going on.